Gents, good to be back together again for episode 2.
Yes,
Of the Aussie Expat podcast.
Good to be back. Welcome.
I guess it's Tristan's turn to be in the hot seat today, and we'll grill him and really get a good understanding of his story and talk a lot of things tax and some of the things I guess you see from clients up here and some really common strategies that people use. I guess one thing I did learn this morning though, which was a little tidbit that I wanted to share with everyone, because Tristan's a wealth of knowledge and I get a lot of random queries from clients that I have absolutely no idea about. One of my clients up in Hong Kong, he's selling a property that he's held for like 15, 20 years. So, but obviously he's not had a valuation done on it he hasn't had a valuation done from when he purchased the property. He was a bit stuck with how on earth do I find out what it was worth, 10, 12, 15 years ago. So I actually thought he would have no chance. Yep. But no, apparently there are people that can do retrospective valuations on properties.
Nothing dodgy about it. So it's and the valuation test is always a lot of people think they need to get a valuation when they get back to Australia. It's not always the case. So the 2 points is the 8th of May 2012 when they changed capital gains tax 50% discount, and also if you've the PPR exemption, if you rented it for more than 6 years, you need a valuation at the beginning when you first started renting it. And that's it. But I'm getting deep into technical, gentlemen.
That's good.
We haven't even kicked it off.
Within the first minute, it's good.
Yeah. I will plug. We have a whole video on this subject as well on our website. So that Tristan and I shot earlier this year. Yeah. So yes, if you want,
it's topical. I literally spoke to you about it earlier in the week.
Did,
so.
Yes.
Capital gains.
Something
is
in the
water.
water.
Yeah, something in the water.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. But yeah, Tristan. I guess it's your turn. We want to hear the story.
Yes. All right. So look. Hopefully, I'm not going to put everyone to sleep, but I'll try and keep it interesting. So,
you make tax fun.
Yes,
and everyone needs
that is a talent in itself.
You're too kind. I'm only as good as the people around me, gentlemen. At the moment, I'm feeling pretty powerful next to you two. So.
I'll pay you later.
Okay.
Good.
I guess take us back to the beginning of. I was going to say the journey, but actually maybe your background in Australia first.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess a couple of little interesting tidbits. So I'm named Tristan after the island that my mum was born on. It's called Tristan da Cunha.
Okay.
Most isolated island in the world, halfway between South America and South Africa. So
I don't think I even knew that.
You didn't know that?
I almost said it.
It's a British colony. It's pretty uninteresting. It's got like a giant volcano. It's pretty cold and wet. A lot of sheepdogs and some potatoes. I think that's basically it. It's got some really funny traditions. Like most of the people there are kind of washed up sailors and are like, my grandfather was an engineer on a ship and he was posted there to open up a lobster cannery. So in the middle of nowhere, they had like lots of lobsters. And back then it was canning stuff was popular, so they moved there. He built the lobster cannery, and then the volcano erupted. And in that time, my mum was born, so I think she had to leave the island in a hurry at about age 2. So
have you been back there? Have you been there?
No, it's pretty hard to get to. So but it's
like Galapagos Islands.
Yeah. I think it's even more, right?
Next to St. Helena, which is where Napoleon was poisoned after he was captured. Okay. So, but yeah, look, it's that's got some funny traditions of. Any
of those traditions carry into the family? Are they weird?
No, but there's a weird one like if you meet someone you like them. The lady, I'm trying to remember how it works actually, I remember this. Yeah, that's right. The man makes the lady a pair of shoes, handmade shoes. Okay. And if she likes him back, she knits him a pair of socks with a certain number of rings around the socks. And once that happens, you've got there's a wedding. Pretty much. So it's got that. And it's one of those places that everyone helps you build a house. So you say, I need a house. So you don't go, hey, I need to see Tim for a mortgage. No. It's let's go and rally up.
Just make it
the troops. Working bee. And sorry, Jamie, there's no financial advice. Let's
trade him. You got to
get together and do some favors. So that's it. So so that's where the name comes from.
Oh my god, that's cool.
It's a pretty random tangent, but
I like it.
But grew up in Canberra. I was there till my kind of mid-20s. I was a pastry chef for about 3 years before I realised that was a really hard way to make a dollar. And I was, getting up at 11 p.m. the night before and working through the night, or 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. depending on what day of the week it was. All my mates were at uni having a great time, and I did that for 3 years, and I was like, I can't do this. This is missing out on some big things. So I went back.
You got to really love pastry, I think.
Oh, you do. It smells good. I love it. The smell in the morning of pastry, that's where the magic happens. But it's everything when you've got to crack 1,000 eggs a day and, all that sort of...
it's hard work.
Can you crack an egg one-handed?
Yeah,
yeah?
You can.
Yeah.
When you've got to crack 1,000 a day,
you
get pretty good at cracking it. So one in each hand. So then after that, went to redid year 12, because first time I did it, I only did the accredited version. In my redoing year 12, discovered a really good accounting teacher. She was pretty good. So she was a biochemist and an accountant, and I thought she was pretty cool, and discovered my love for accounting. And then went to studied commerce at ANU, and when I was working at ANU, I was still working as a waiter at the place that I was used to be a pastry chef at, because I had a cafe there, and one of our customers was an accountant, and she said, "Hey, do you want a job on the side?" And I was like, "Absolutely," and that's how I got into tax accounting. So there's the tangent. So after that, it was.
I need to buy that person some flowers.
Yeah. But she was good. So that was after that. Moved to Melbourne. After a couple of years, moved to Melbourne. I worked in a ex-Arthur Andersen firm. So when Arthur Andersen blew up, this was one of the spin-offs. So we had some pretty full-on partners there. It's one that always used to say to me, every day was a school day. And that's kind of stuck with me. So I was there for about 8 years, and that was a pretty good experience, because we're working for some pretty interesting clients there. I think some of them I may have mentioned them to you at some point, but one may come up in this podcast. We'll see.
One of my favourite stories.
Yes,
I've got that ready to go.
There you go. Yeah. And but we worked on some some pretty hefty tax advice pieces. We had an in-house tax lawyer. I worked for some pretty cool clients then as well, and then after a while went in-house, and then worked for a medical transcription company, which is a bit random. It's one of my clients. That taught me a bit of kind of inside business knowledge, because it was a wild 12 months of my life working this medical transcription company, selling it, sold it, and just as I sold it, Julie, my lovely wife, called me up and she said, "Hey, I got a job in Singapore, we better go." So we packed up, moved to Singapore, and then the rest is history.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny, like we talked about this last time, all three of us are trailing spouses that have come over here. So, but it's been a great opportunity to come over and do that as well.
Absolutely.
And look at where you are now.
I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Obviously you've moved up to Singapore.
Yep.
How was it moving up and then working out what you wanted to do next?
Moving up was probably the similar experience that most expats go through. So the whole, the first period here, like, this place is amazing. I love coffee. Have you tried chicken rice? It's amazing. Like all that sort of, that kind of euphoria when you first get here. And then about a month into it, you're like, what have I done? Where am I? No one can speak English here. I can, but at that point you have
English took me a while.
Yeah, I was having problems, sort of getting my message across to people, and being the trailing spouse. So I came up and I set up the house and put together 50 pieces of IKEA furniture, and found a childcare centre for my then 2-year-old Nina, and then slowly started looking for work. And coming from an Australian professional services firm, you think you're the best and you're amazing and everyone wants you, and it's not the case. It was a steep learning curve. It was quite I literally applied for, it was exactly 50 jobs, I remember, and at 50 I stopped, and I got one call back from a person that called me back, and you could hear on the phone they were kind of even reluctant to call me, and they sort of said, what's your salary expectation? I told them, and they're like, well, you got to lower that a lot more than what you think you're on. So it was like half of what I was on in Australia. So it was a bit of a shock. I didn't get the job. I didn't apply for it because I just went, this is not for me. I was listening to a lot of Nick Cave then as well, just trying to get through the day. Like it was I was in a dark patch, and then one day I said, right, I've got to change my approach. So I started, I think, similar to what you gentlemen did, I started trawling LinkedIn, going, okay, how can I get a job here? And and I was like, who does Australian tax here? And I at that point I discovered SMAT, so I'm so grateful for them, because I remember the day I sent the owner a message. Got nothing back on the day, and then he called me up, and I was at home by myself. Nina was covered in, I think it was either poo or vomit. It was something disgusting like that, and she'd just done it, and I just answered the phone, and I was like, he's like, oh, have you got a moment to chat? And I was like, can you just give me a few minutes to call you back? So, and then he had me in. I came in literally the next business day. We had an interview with him, and he said, do you want to start now? And I said to him, I just need to get myself organised. So I got back, got myself organised, and then I worked for basically 2 years at Spats, basically learning the ropes in a pretty multicultural environment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's part of the benefit of moving up here as well, right? Australia can be narrow focus, especially in a white person in finance, how stereotypical am I type thing. But up here, it's great, and I think that's why I moved. That's similar to you guys as well, as experience that culture.
Just to have a chance to live somewhere else, I think, as well, right? It's I always wanted to move overseas when I was like in my 20s. It just, the opportunity never came up for whatever reason. So as soon as it kind of happens, you're like, okay, just go for it. What's the worst? You go home and do what you were doing
exactly. And look, it's one of those things that I'm sort of upset with the people that were around me when I was studying, because no one said to me, hey, you should think about going overseas. And I studied at ANU, which I thought was a pretty good university. And I just remember there was never any discussions of people saying you should give overseas a go, and there just wasn't anyone talking about it. I think things are a bit different now, I think, but I'm out of touch with that kind of scene. But it was, I wish someone said to me, get overseas and do it now, because if I hadn't met, there's sort of like two important women here. So the first one was my evil ex-girlfriend who got me to leave Canberra and move up to Melbourne. So that was like out of my first little comfort zone. Otherwise, I probably would have stayed in Canberra all my life. And the second one was the amazing woman in my life, Julia, who got the expat posting, because otherwise I probably would have stayed in Melbourne all my life. It's one of those things so good to get you out of your comfort zone, do something that scares you, and basically get offshore. Yeah.
Then it gets too hard to go home.
Come for 2 years and then you'll be here for 10.
Exactly.
Maybe talk a little bit more about what you're doing now, because it's really it's more of your own thing.
I joined some friends that I had in Singapore. I've known them for many years, called Red Phoenix, RP. And effectively they didn't have a tax practice and they wanted one, to basically a blank canvas, and effectively running a tax practice. So, it's the old elevator pitch of I'm a Australian tax accountant based in Singapore rings true, specialise in expats. And within RP, we're a small and nimble team. I've got some great shareholders and directors. One of our director is a 75-year-old tax accountant who is now does consulting, but he's the founder of the foreign superannuation structure. So he's a great resource to have on the phone. I can call him up, have a chat about structures and the like. He's seen a lot in his time, so it's great tapping into that kind of wealth of knowledge. Plus, the other, another one of our shareholders is had a big financial services business up in Singapore for 10 years. He's now retired back in Australia, but he's got a wealth of knowledge of, things that went right and things that went wrong, and that really helps, give you good stable footings to go forth in Singapore. And really lucky to maintain the business so I can continue working with you gentlemen, and we effectively keep doing our thing, which is great,
which we appreciate.
Exactly. Having you on number on WhatsApp is one of a blessing.
Yes.
It's very good. On the client side of things, so obviously you meet with clients on a daily basis, and every day or all night as well. Tristan doesn't sleep, by the way. Maybe run through some challenges that you've been faced with some clients, or some day-to-day things that you do, and then I suppose
some common themes.
Common themes, and how you've kind of overcome them. Like for me, one of my favourite things is problem solving. How do I get a bad situation into a good situation with clients? So maybe run through if you've got examples? Obviously,
Yeah.
not revealing client names or anything like
Yes,
that, but
yeah.
just a common, okay, this is what I would see 10 times a week type thing.
Yep. Yeah. So look at the probably the I'm going to sound like a real professional services advisor here, so apologies, gentlemen. But like,
We'll put the disclaimer up as well.
Disclaimer up there. So like the biggest issue I find is when clients come to you and they haven't taken advice before they've done something, and then they come to you after they've done it. So buying a property a certain way, structuring assets a certain way, or they've already been basically wanting to be a non-resident, but have been, spent pretty much, a good chunk of half of the year in Australia, and then they've come to me afterwards and said, "Hey, can you help?" And a lot of it involves jumping into a time machine to fix it, which I just don't have yet. So, that's kind of the, it's that taking advice piece, which is always the part that's, that always, that does require a bit of, a bit of trying to fix.
Yeah. I think just getting on top of things before you want to do something right is probably the biggest thing, because it's the same thing for me. People come and say, "Oh, I've done this," or "I did this, and can you get me some advice so that you can reduce my tax bill because I got told it was going to be this." I'm like, "You can't change it."
Where's the best time to get advice? Yesterday.
Yeah. So it's the whole planning piece, and I know both you gentlemen are, are preaching to the converted here with, taking advice early and getting organised. So, but I get it. Life's busy.
It is, yeah.
Life's busy for all of us, and it's one of those things that, you do your best in those situations to help clients.
Yeah.
That's something.
Part of the whole point of this podcast is to get more awareness out there as well, because the amount of people I talk to that just don't know or don't think it's going to be a problem until it is a problem.
Yes.
So, yes. I think, and obviously we'll be doing other podcasts around very specific topics around that. Like we talked about last time, repatriation's a big one. When you want to sell properties, what does structures look like? So watch this space.
And if you've got any questions, put in the notes section so we can come back to that. And we might use this podcast.
Yes.
If you're not anonymous, we might even get you on the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Be careful.
Be careful.
Exactly. Yeah. Be careful. Warning.
If you're happy to share good stories or bad, we want to hear them. No, I think it's especially my whole ethos is there's so many of us that go through really, some difficult times here, but I've learned a lot from a lot of the other people around me and other clients that have been through tough times as well. That you get through it at the end, but there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from each other. As well. Definitely. So, I guess conversely, in terms of some of the challenges that you see for clients, Tristan, what's some of the better strategies that people use up here to make their time more effective? Yeah, look at
I think from a start it's doing something, so not doing anything, not doing nothing, because it's I think this is, as Jamie was speaking on our last podcast, you'll see a client, give them a strategy, and then 3 years later they come back and Jamie's like, "Hey, what have you been up to?" And they're like, "Just been living. Things are pretty much the same as they were 3 years ago." And it's easy to do here in Singapore. It's just do nothing and live, which life's busy and that sort of thing. So spending money is easy to do up here, as we all know. So but look, the better strategies is basically trying to map out from a tax point of view what you want to do. So I'm a big fan of the future family home strategies. Obviously it needs to fit into the broader strategy. It's something that you've helped me do, Tim. So thank you for your help.
And another plug, Tristan and I have a whole video of that coming out soon as well.
We do.
If it's not already up by the time this goes up. So
but that's what I like, because it's there's pros and cons to it, of course, but I like it because it's like a practical, but there's also some tax benefits to it as well. So and the high level points is you buy a house that you want now. Easy said than done, because if you're buying a future home, you'd want to go and have a good look at it, and you do. And just because you're jumping on a plane to fly down to buy it, to bid at auction, doesn't mean you're going to get it. That's the sort of thing. So
it's a very emotional purchase, your family home, where an investment's just all about numbers. Not just all about numbers, but it is about numbers.
And again, I think this is something we can do a whole podcast on as well, but it's also about weighing up that there's two big factors to it: the time cost of opportunity, right? So especially where the market is now in Australia, and I think especially with where we can already see it going, people keep waiting for the crash, waiting for it to slow down, waiting for things to be the right time. But there's my belief, this is just my opinion, it won't slow down and it won't crash for two, maybe three simple reasons. The first one is the immigration intake is still relatively high, and it's still got some catching up to do from the last few years as well. So supply demand, we're not building enough houses, and there's more people moving into the country. So
it's
that
really simple supply demand, but that's it.
And the other thing, especially now, is the interest rate outlook too. I think I was reading today that I think all the major banks are now pricing in 1% reduction by the end of the year. So it's only going to keep pushing up that demand,
that property price
as well. And then depending on what the government does with new housing policy around first home buyers, they'll probably have a stimulant
potentially.
That'll also boost
there's already policies there, but I'm sure they're going to try and do a lot more as well, and they're just simply not building enough properties for people to live in. So the more time you keep waiting, it's just going to get harder and harder. So maybe yes, you might have to. It comes down to what you want as a family, right? The main reason I find that clients want to buy a home to move back into, it's not necessarily to be in the absolute dream home. It's actually to have security for their family.
And that they know safety net that you can fall back on, right?
That's it.
And going into the Australian rental market now is
tough.
Quite a scary thing. It's not what it was 3-4 years ago.
But that's I'm a big fan of I love the future family home strategy, and I love it once you get that. And look, you might want to get some other investment properties on the side, but also make sure you set up some investments in Singapore. So take advantage of the capital gains tax-free nature of them. Like I know, Jamie, you're preaching to the converted here. He's music serious, but
I'm doing an event coming up. It's shares and property. So I'm talking about both, right?
It's a good one actually.
It's a good one
because normally they're isolated. It's just like
it's like you can go down the compound property route or the share route, but I think having a blend of both.
Actually
great. Makes sense. Like you can have 10 properties, but if you need 200, 300 grand quickly, how do you get that? If you've got a blend of both, you can have that with shares and liquidity. So it's
good financial planning is actually very boring.
It's very you say got boring things.
I mean like it's just diversify, right? Just don't put all your eggs in one basket. So
100%.
I guess Tristan, more on you. Maybe talk about personally what's been some of the really good times that you've had up here.
Okay. Look at if I think about probably it's even probably the steepest learning curve. Well, it's been a learning curve for me the whole time, actually, to be honest. Like it's everything I've done has been me just going, wow, didn't see this coming. Okay, we've got to get through this. So first 2 years here was very interesting because it was, one is no job, in a ditch. It's like, how do I get out of this? And then I got a job, and it was into this cultural melting pot. So it was just like,
which coming from Australia is actually quite a big adjustment.
It was a big thing. It was a big thing, and like I the SMATS office staff were wonderful. It was this great team, and it was like 30 people. There wasn't really any expats there. There was kind of me. I had there was a property guy that I've stayed in touch with, and there was a mortgage broking guy that was pretty quiet. But apart from that, it was all a local team, and it was from basically broad, based across the 3 different races in Singapore, obviously Chinese, Malay, and Indian. So there's basically a good mix there. And coming with that, there was all the different cultural elements that overlaid on top of that. So we never did drinks there. We never did like Friday night drinks because no one was into it, but we ate some great food. And it was just like I made good mates with the practice manager there, City, who's since retired. but she was like, she'd bring me like curry puffs in the morning once I like them, and I get like nasi lemak and rendang and like.
So you adjusted very quickly.
Very quickly. So it was good, and it's in a funny location. It's still there, Sim Lim Tower, which is like normally we go to buy. It's not where you buy computers. It's where you buy capacitors and small electronic gadgets, like because Sim Lim Square is where you buy the computers, which most people know, but Sim Lim Tower is a pretty weird place, and it was there was no European coffee, so I learned to drink coffee there, like a local coffee place, and that was a fun first 2 years. And half my clients were Singaporean, so I learned really quickly to do business with Singaporeans, which is very different kettle of fish to Australians, because they're good business people. They're tough. They look at everything really carefully.
Very direct.
Very direct, and I've made some good clients there, and I've held on to some of them as well. So there's still some great Singaporean families I still look after that I catch up and we go and chat about food generally, which is
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Which is, it's an easy topic to talk about.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting learning curve, and we were even doing things like road shows for property development companies, where I'd go along to Malaysia for the weekends and hang out in a hotel, and there'd be a property developer selling properties in Melbourne, and I'd be the tax guy.
Yeah.
So I'd stand up on stage and I'd do this little rehearsed tax presentation that went for about 20 minutes, and then I'd just get hammered with questions by Malaysians or Singaporeans afterwards. So and it would give me tax clients after it for the SMATs book. So you do that sort of thing. So it learnt, coming from a tax accountant where you're not very good at selling, you sort of learn how to talk to people and how to sell to them, basically.
Yeah.
So that was a really useful really useful tool. Then after that, into Select Investors, where I met Jamie, which is great. That was a completely different environment. So it was it's very expat-y, very British. And coming from a very local office into a very British office, it was another steep learning curve. So I learned a lot. I met some really great clients there as well. There I met a lot more clients that were that had more mixed nationalities. So we had a lot of Australian and British families. I think Jamie still looks after a lot of them, and I've held on to some of those as well. So you're dealing with tax issues for the UK and Australia and inheritance tax, and there'd be a few other and that was good, because that I sort of really cut my teeth there on I think that's a saying, isn't it? Good. On basically dealing with lots of different jurisdictions at once, and it was suddenly you're learning about Thailand tax, you're learning about Bali tax, and all these different jurisdictions that came in. That was good. So that as for a tax accountant was really interesting. There I built the tax practice from scratch. So we had sort of day one, we had 0 tax clients, and by the time I left, it was like 430 or something like that. So it was a good little one. That was 4 years, so really good 4 years. That I really enjoyed my time there. Met some great people. Met Jamie, of course, which is great. I met you during that time too, Tim, or maybe before that.
It was before.
It was before that. It was before that.
Just
actually.
before you started.
It was before that. Yeah. That was really good. And then after that, jump ship to Perpetual, which was another interesting experience, because that was a very Australian company in Singapore, and I wasn't used to such an Australian company. It was 130-year-old company, listed, 2,000 staff, I think, so big team. So you just sort of I was obviously running the Singapore tax practice, but working on some projects for them, and you'd suddenly jump on a call and you'd be talking to people in Australia you've never met before, or people in Melbourne you've never met before, and that was a really interesting experience, because you're dealing with listed company dynamics, and probably a lot of our listeners will be working for listed companies, so they're all just going, yep, know exactly what you guys are talking about.
Yes.
Jamie, you worked for Macquarie for a while.
Yes.
Tim, you obviously worked for NAB for a while.
A long time, yeah.
So that was and all the different, doing special projects for them, that sort of thing. That was really interesting as well. So I enjoyed that, and then over to RP. So it was it was an interesting journey. So I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered your question there, Tim.
That's all right.
Just talking about myself.
It's interesting anyway.
Yeah,
so I mean, the one thing I really take away from it is it's probably the same for all three of us, is you come in and you realize nothing is handed to you here. So you really have to kind of work out a way of where do you fit in and how do you make something happen here that you can't just follow a standard corporate, climb the tree ladder here sometimes, especially I think in our industries, because it's not a cookie cutter approach
Definitely right. I think in expat land, things happen a lot quicker. Things are moving faster. If you don't move with it or move in front of it, then you can get left behind sometimes as well.
Yeah, that's well said.
You can, things move really it's weird.
quickly,
Every year you get thrown challenges. It's like it doesn't matter who you are. Again, a lot of people deal with every career challenges, but also personal challenges, and there's just a lot of different things that you got to kind of balance up on a day to day as an expat essentially. So there's challenges at the start, there's challenges in the middle, and obviously challenges at the end as well. So
But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I know,
No.
I know I've probably said it 100 times, and everyone knows I'm grateful to be here. But I think, I mean, I'll talk about it when we get to my interview.
Yes.
You couldn't pay me enough to go back to the bank anymore.
Yeah,
So.
good. Looking forward to
out
putting you in the
next.
hot seat too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My seat's getting pretty hot and sweaty right now. So
Tell us about your trauma, Tristan. So yeah. I guess do you have like a most interesting client story that you can think of here, or anything that's kosher to share?
yeah, let me think about
No
some.
names.
No
Yeah.
names. Yeah. So worked with some interesting clients. So one was he was a client who I met him through some really good long-standing clients that I've had the whole time here, and they said, "You've got to meet this guy. He's a really nice guy, but he's got a really interesting business." And I was like, "Oh, what does he do?" And it's like he sells T-shirts at the heavy metal concerts. And I was like, "Wow, that's really..." And it was at the time it was a big cash business, so he was basically having problems dealing with the Singapore banks because he'd rock up to the banks with a big bag of cash after a concert, and the bank's like, "I'm not banking this. This is this is
This day and age, yeah.
Big, yeah. So he was a really interesting, lovely guy. He was an Aussie, just based up here, so he needed some advice. So we helped him out. But he was a really interesting client to visit and have a chat with and that sort of thing. So he was a really good one. There's another client that I worked with that had like 9 kids or something like that. Over 3 marriages.
Impressive.
That was
Yeah.
good. He had a lot of good stories. Really nice guy, really smart. So 2 different tax jurisdictions. 3 different tax jurisdictions to deal with, all complicated in themselves. I was obviously dealing with the Australian side, but he was a really good guy. Lovely to catch up with and that sort of thing. But obviously big team to there was quite a few of us working on him, so he was big interesting team. But yeah, he was based up here. I think he's now since repatriated to Australia. But that's a good client. Should I tell you about
My favourite story. Come on.
So about your favourite?
This is good.
This is a good one.
This is good.
This is a good one.
We'll cut it out if it's not kosher.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be kosher.
It's above board.
It's above board. I'm not going to disclose any secret information here. So, so as a youngish accountant working at the firm in Melbourne, Mutual Trust. One of our clients was a famous Australian spin bowler. Lovely guy, really super sharp, like really quick on the arithmetic.
That part that astounds me. I know who it is, but like that character doesn't fit that kind of description in a sense.
Super smart and super quick, and like he played poker as well. So he was kind of well known for playing poker, and he was paid for playing his poker as well. So he got lots of sponsorships and that sort of thing.
Got to be smart for that.
Yeah, so he was very quick on his feet, and it was, as a young accountant back then, we didn't, it was still paper packs, so you'd sound like an old man here. So we had computers in the office, so it wasn't that old, but you basically do up all these packs.
They were like the old iMacs from like...
So you do up these packs, you print them out, these giant A3 sheets, and fold them in, that sort of thing, of cash flows and that sort of thing, and then you go out and see him, and he'd already changed his mind 6 times, so like you might as well just throw the pack in the bin. So it was one of those things that was just it was that was frustrating. But I remember this one morning, he had this big house in Brighton, which is a suburb of Melbourne, which has got he was on in sort of the Golden Mile, I think it was called, but it was this big, famous circle road, big swimming pool with the big number 23 under, which is probably giving it away now, but
cut that out.
So we arrived. So myself and my director arrived. It was first thing in the morning. He was out the back on the phone, just pacing around the swimming pool, and we sort of sat there and waited for him. He came in, and he said to us, "It's over," and I was like, "What's over?" And it was the time he'd just broken up with, Liz Hurley. So it was literally one of those, and we just went, "Oh no!" And it was, I was there when Warnie broke up with Shane, with Warnie broke up with Liz Hurley, or maybe the other way around. But so obviously his advisors, we had a lot of work to do after that. But he was a great client to work with. I was, super sad when I heard the news a couple of years ago.
Yeah, very tough.
Passing away, big loss. But we used to help with the foundation at the time as well.
Yeah.
So Shane One Foundation. So I did get to go to a Shane One Foundation event, and Liz Hurley was there.
Yeah.
So I stood about a metre away from her. I didn't get a chance to say hi. She looked at me, and I was like, "Yeah, that was enough. That was enough. Yeah. So
I don't know if you've ever been posted that question before, but who would you have in your a round dinner table? I think Shane Warne would be on one of mine if I could. Kerry Packer will be up there. Obviously not around anymore, both of those. But any others ring to mind, gentlemen, that you would have on a?
I'm obsessed with really terrible reality TV. So they'd probably all be like, it'll be like Real Housewives that I could just watch, yell at each other.
Yes.
Donald Trump. Would you have Donald?
The
moment, he's very topical.
Very topical. He'd be very dominating at the dinner table. I suspect.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'd have a few like movie type people, like probably Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah.
A few arty people, because I guess it's I love art, but it's as a tax accountant, it's pretty black and white generally.
What about foodies? You do like your food? Any chefs you would have around?
I'd probably go. I think I'd go. Mr. Cravat. Sorry, his name escapes me. Matt.
Aussie guy.
Aussie guy with the cravat. I think I know exactly.
It was on the original MasterChef.
Yeah.
It had the...
I'm not a reality TV person.
But I think it would be a mixture of arty people and foodie people, plus you guys, plus my lovely wife. It'd be great.
I always think the more eccentric the better, honestly.
Exactly.
Even though, I have a lot of, not a lot, but I've had quite a few clients over the years that are a little bit different. But honestly, they're the most interesting people.
Yes.
Honestly, they're very sweet sometimes. Yeah. And I actually always appreciate people that can look at life differently to the black and white world that we all live in sometimes.
Yeah,
so,
no, I agree with that. Yeah.
Quick whistle stop tour. I'm going to ask 3 rapid questions for you, T.
Let's go.
Favourite place in Asia to travel to?
Probably Myanmar, if I could get back there.
Yeah.
Second to that would probably be Laos. Yeah.
Haven't been to either of those,
yeah.
So I'll put them on my supply list.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a little bit tougher now, I think.
Number one reason why staying in Singapore?
It's probably opportunity, I think. Opportunity and just the vibe is a terrible word, but the vibe. It is. I really enjoy it. Like the clients up here are really cool, really nice. The community's massive, as in, I guess when you've been up here for 9+ years, the community that you build is pretty strong. So obviously we've all seen a lot of expats come and go. And I'm always sad when I hear one has to go or that sort of thing. But there's some great people like yourselves that have been up here the whole time, and I always get excited with catching up with you guys.
Yeah. Last one from me, residency. What's happening with the 45-day rule?
Yes.
That's the number one question I get.
Question we get.
That is it. Look, it's really good. So so obviously Albo's back in. So I guess that's factual, not political. So Albo had a review of the residency rules where we all sent in submissions. It was like the second time running. Got nothing out of it, but now that he's back in, hopefully that gets back on the table. Personally, I would like to see the residency rules change to remove the greyness. 45 days is not enough. So for those that have heard about the 45-day test, it's just not enough. So more like 60 to 90 days. But it'll be a lot easier for business people to do business up here because you'll be able to say, these are the rules, they're black and white, you're either on one side of them or the other. There's none of this greyness. So
the proposed flow chart, wasn't it?
It was
yes and no questions rather than a lot of grey in between.
It was quite easy. Like there was a few stinky stings in the tail there. So the old re-entering residency one was a tough one. So that was one where once you breach the 45 days, you go back to day one. So that's the tricky thing that for example, if you had a trip to Australia in July and then you re-entered Australia in January to repatriate, by the time you get to February, you would have been deemed probably to breach your 45 days at that point, and you get dragged back to being a resident from July onwards, which is harsh. Which doesn't make sense. So there's a few of those things that needed to be ironed out. and hopefully, as a result of these long-standing reviews, that they'll get ironed out and rolled out. But at the moment, it's just all silent on the Western Front. All my tax contacts, no one's heard anything. I keep asking, but I'll be quick to update everyone. As soon as it'll be like all over LinkedIn, and it's the sort of thing that when it did come out, it got shared so far and wide amongst the expat community. I wouldn't be surprised if I just need to send it to a few people, or just send it to both you.
I mean, it'll be a hot topic. My biggest suspicion is you got to thinking bigger picture around, especially how legislation is put in place. Right, they've put this out there, but obviously for us personally, we're all worried about our own position and I go back way more than 45 days and I don't want to get it. But the biggest, I think the biggest thing that will impact it is that there's a lot of Australian companies offshore that are moving their staff back and forth for business all the time, right? Yeah. And I'm sure there would be a lot of lobbying on their behalf to make sure that it's going to have a much bigger impact for a lot of them. Anyone that has to travel for business, I have to go back to Australia 45 days for work. Least, right? And it's not, I have to go. It's not that I'm wanting to go and just go on a holiday, right? Exactly. So all these people that have to go back, it's an unfair way.
It is. And I think that was definitely one of the big arguments that big business was saying, hey, you can't do this because, and I think the government heard that message, which is good, and as a result, it's just gotten stuck in the mud. Interesting that the paper was written by a lot of smart people, deep in the tax scene, but they just didn't test it too well with expats, I think was the issue, which is why it kind of keeps getting stuck.
We're not a pressing and voting bloc, I think.
Very true.
Cool. Well, Tristan, I think it's, we've known you a long time, but it's great to hear more of your stories. And now that I know where your name came from,
We'll have to do a trip and a podcast.
Definitely. That'll be a live report.
Exactly. I think it's like a 2-week boat trip or something like that from Cape Town. So,
fantastic.
We'll be sort of offline for a while. I don't know if the internet's so good out there in the middle of the ocean, but
Starlink
now.
Starlink,
yes.
Well,
doesn't matter. Exactly. Coming to you from the seasick boat.
Very good.
As always, thanks to everyone for listening as well. And you can find us at any good place you find podcasts, and please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen. See you later.